Hi, I'm Wayne Allyn Root for Personal Liberty. I told you so. Forget ISIS, forget Al-Qaeda, forget Putin, forget China. The worst threat to America is Barack Hussein Obama. I've screamed from the highest mountains for almost 7 long years now that we have a suicide bomber in the White House. Obama is dive-bombing our nation's economy the same way that the Germanwings airline co-pilot Andreas Lubitz crashed his plane into the ground in France 2 months ago. Except this isn't one plane and a couple of hundred poor souls. Obama's taking the entire American economy and all of us down with him. I've told everyone and anyone who would listen for almost 7 years that Obama's following the exact plan he learned as my college classmate at Columbia University, class of '83. The plan is called Cloward Piven. The plan is simple. To destroy capitalism and American exceptionalism, you overwhelm the system with spending, entitlements, regulations, and debt. The economy comes to a halt, full-time jobs are killed, businesses fail in record numbers, the middle class is murdered financially, the debt implodes, and the economy is overwhelmed. Capitalism dies as a majority of Americans wind up hooked on welfare food stamps, free health care, and government checks like a drug addict is hooked by a drug dealer on heroin or crack cocaine or crystal meth. Obama is America's drug dealer, but his drug of choice is government dependency. To make this plan work, Obama needs you hopeless, helpless, clueless, and losing all faith in God, yourself, individualism, personal responsibility, and capitalism. He needs you scared out of your wits and desperate. He needs you believing the only person or thing that could save you is government. How does this end? According to Cloward Piven, a majority of Americans wind up dependent on government. They vote out of desperation for whatever political party promises to keep the checks coming, or better yet, expand the checks, and then slowly, like boiling a frog who doesn't realize what's happening until he's boiled and dead, capitalism dies. The very same people destroyed by government are now dependent on government to survive, and they beg government to save them, and that opens up the door to a big brother socialist economic system. It's happening right in front of our eyes, right in front of your eyes. You don't have to believe me. Just look at the evidence. The proof came in last Friday. The first quarter GDP growth was revised to negative. This is proof positive that the plan is working. The U.S. economy is in reverse. We're in quicksand and we're all drowning. Obama's taking us down like a suicide bomber. These aren't opinions. This is fact. Now you just have to decide based on the evidence of a dying economy after almost 7 years under Obama. Is Barack Obama an ignorant, incompetent idiot, dangerous to himself and everyone around him, or a purposeful suicide bomber out to destroy America and capitalism? Because it's either one or the other. You decide. Here are the facts. The first quarter GDP, gross domestic product, which is the only measurement of our economy that matters, was just revised on Friday to negative 0.07%. This number is a disaster. It's a tragedy. But this isn't some aberration or outlier. This is the entire Obama presidency. Obama's 7 first quarters as president are a combined average of negative 0.43%. Obama is the only president in the history of America's recorded economic measurement to accomplish this. Let me repeat. This is the worst 7-year record in the history of America's recorded GDP history. Obama is also the only president in history to have produced 4 separate first quarters that were negative. We started measuring GDP in 1947, right after World War II. Obama's one of a kind. He is setting records for disaster and futility never before imagined in the greatest economy and country in world history. And guess what? We're all going along for the ride. So buckle up your seatbelts. No one appears willing to say out loud and on the record something is really wrong. This isn't normal. No one's willing to say this isn't possible to do by mistake. No one is willing to suggest there's a madman, a suicide bomber at the controls, taking our economy and country down like that German pilot dive-bombed that plane into the ground 2 months ago. Need more proof? The average first quarter GDP since measurements began in 1947 was 4%. Under Harry Truman, 4.5%. Under Eisenhower, 3.2%. Under JFK, John F. Kennedy, 4.9% growth. Under LBJ, 8.3% growth. Under Nixon, 5.3%. Under Ford, 2.3%. Under Carter, 2.4%. Jimmy Carter got us to 2.4%. Under Reagan, 2.1%, and that was because Reagan inherited complete disaster and depression from Carter. Under George H.W. Bush, 2.9%. Under Clinton, 2.6%. Under George W. Bush, 1.7%. Under Obama, Here are the 7 quarters. Negative 5.4%, 1.7%, negative 1.5%, 2.3%, 2.7%, negative 2.1%, and negative 0.07. Let me repeat, worst record in recorded history. Only negative average in recorded history. Only time we've had 4 negative first quarters in history. What's the excuse? Winter? Cold weather in the first quarter? Really? So America didn't have winter under Truman, JFK, or LBJ? Winter is a new phenomenon that only affects Obama's first quarter? Even more compelling. Don't Canada, Russia, and China have winter in the first quarter too? So how come their GDP growth isn't affected by snow or bad weather? Here's the thing, folks. Economists are saying the second quarter doesn't look much better. Last I checked, there is no winter in April, May, and June. So why is this quarter off to the same kind of start as last quarter and the quarter before that? Why did all of this economic decline happen while gas prices were plummeting? Economists predicted a windfall for consumers because of dramatically lower gas prices, yet the economy dive-bombed and consumer spending stalled even with cheap gas prices. It's clear who and what is to blame. The who is a suicide bomber in the White House named Obama. The what is Cloward Piven. Obama's exploded spending, entitlements, dependency, regulations, and debt to destroy capitalism in the U.S. economy. He has set world records in each of those categories. The most spending in history, the most entitlement spending in history, the most regulations and cost of regulations in history, the most debt ever created in world history. Cloward Piven. The facts are in. The results are in. No one could be this stupid. No president could be this ignorant. No one could produce a record this bad by mistake. It isn't possible. We clearly have a suicide bomber in the White House. I'm Wayne Allyn Root for Personal Liberty. See you next week. Bye-bye. God bless America.